Hello, all, and welcome back to Let's Eat. Welcome back to the show. We have lots to dive into today, so I'm excited for another family dinner episode. I actually had to go back in my onto Spotify and look at the episode progression over the past several weeks because usually these episodes don't come. Usually it's every 4 weeks, I would say, and usually I'm pretty on top of when it's meant to be released. But my math was not mathing. And I forget what ended up happening in May. I feel like I ended up doing two in May. I just know May 28th was the last time I released one, a family dinner episode. And so we are due for one for July, but now I'm kind of thrown off a bit. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm not thrown off. Maybe I'm actually back on schedule. I think maybe that's actually what it is because then I'll release one the first week of August and then we will be rocking and rolling on, I think, the original cadence, which was the first week of the month. Or was it the last week of the month? I don't remember. But, anyways, once a month, we have a family dinner episode. And this is an opportunity for me to just chit chat and yap about all the things going on currently in life, in health, in business. And this is the longest form content that I share, right? Meaning there's long form content for those of you who are not familiar, and short form content being more TikTok and Reels and Instagram and all of that. Long form being something like YouTube or a podcast. And so this is my long form opportunity to really dive into what in the world is going on. And I feel like, and for those who have listened to the podcast now for a while, the podcast always gets the scoop first. You always get more details. You get all the tea, all the information, and you know that the podcast is truly my favorite. It's my favorite. I love it. And that will always be the case because it's just my favorite and I love being able to record 45 minutes, 50 minutes of whether it's a topic in health or something I'm thinking on or insights I've gained or something I've learned or something in my own journey, and hopefully it brings value to you. So, thank you so much for being here. I'm welcoming you back to Family Dinner and Let's Eat. Welcome to Let's Eat. I'm your host, Emily, certified holistic health coach, functional nutrition expert, and self-proclaimed wellness enthusiast, here to meet you at the intersection of physical and mental health, the space within which we become well. This podcast is meant to explore all areas of mind and body wellness, designed to offer you the integrative knowledge, behavioral strategies, and mindset shifts necessary to uplevel your health and feel better today. We'll explore nutrition, sleep, movement, self-care and stress management, habits and routines, self-development, gut health, mental health, and more. I am so happy that you're here. Welcome to the table. Let's eat. So, what has been happening? Well, let's first set the stage, set the scene here. I have an Americano, which for those of you who remember, I've had a hard time letting go of the instant coffee that I really liked, which is like, honestly, I'm ashamed to admit that because I'm such a coffee lover and such a coffee connoisseur. So I'm over here drinking an instant coffee. Like, come on, Emily, you can do better. And I also have a Breville. So it's just, it's truly shameful. But I have officially let that go. And honestly, I think I've like lost my palate for it. So I've been doing Americanos, which I really like in general. That's usually something I would drink if I were out and about. And then I've just been adding some half and half to it. I have an extra large water, 64 ounces of water with lemon and some minerals and some molecular hydrogen. Molecular hydrogen is basically just a powerhouse of antioxidants. So I learned through genetic testing that I have a harder time with oxidative stress. And this is actually something that I'm going to be sharing more on in the next couple months for a specific reason. So I'll talk more about it in the future. But that is something that from time to time add to my water. And the one I use is by Symbiotica. You can use the link in the show notes to get a discount, I believe, or use code Whole with Emily, I believe is the code to get a discount. It's honestly one of Symbiotica's most affordable products. That's completely honest. Symbioticas can be expensive, but there are a few that I really like their molecular hydrogen or their magnesium spray that I find to be much more affordable. So that is what I have in my water. I have my red light currently on me, so we have that going. It is Monday morning, the Monday after July 4th weekend, and this weekend was so needed and so rust filled. Yesterday, I organized and I cleaned and I went actually, you'll be proud of me, everyone. Listen up. If you've been following this condo saga, interior design saga, you'll be proud of me. I did some shopping yesterday morning and I actually came home with a few things that I now have in my home. I hung a picture yesterday. What else did I do? I bought a side table for my living room, so it's on. Okay, I've been saying this for months now. I want to do more interior designing. I want to make my home more of a home. And I've just continued to hit these mental blocks of just feeling like I don't know what I'm doing, which is still true. Okay, it's still true. I really don't know what I like, what I'm doing. And I've been using a lot of like Pinterest inspo, and I've actually been using ChatGPT to help me kind of brainstorm and like visualize it a little bit more. I did just buy a new coffee table, which the problem is it's like I bought a wicker basket to hang hold blankets. Like that is just like such an insignificant purchase, but it's kind of like one of those things where you kind of have to start somewhere. You know what I mean? Like having a wicker basket for blankets is not going to make or break the decor or the look, but it's a step in the right direction. And honestly, I love it. I love my wicker basket. It's I swapped out the one I had in my living room and put that in my bedroom, and it looks nice. I like the location. I have blankets to put in said basket. So we're making our way. But I bought a new coffee table. It's a coffee table that matches the side table. And the reason being is because my living room is really white, and I'm working on I've shared, I'm not going to spend too much time here because I'm sure none of you want to hear this, but my ceilings are really high in both my bedroom and in my living room, and I love it. I feel like I love that openness, and I love having the tall ceilings. I love, I mean, when it's like 0 degrees out in January, it's not my favorite because I feel like it just feels like I can't get warm, but I love it. And so my wall is just massive and exposed, and it's really hard to think, okay, what am I putting on this wall? But what I can do is I can not make it more bland by putting everything in this room, in this space, as like a super light color. So my couch is beige, my coffee table's white, my rug is on the lighter side. So I wanted to bring in some contrast. Look at me using some interior design terms. I wanted to bring in some contrast. So I got a coffee table, but now I have this coffee table. Okay, hear me out. This coffee table is the coffee table I bought 3 years ago when I moved in. So it's been here since the start, but this is I'm not proud to say this, but I did assemble it incorrectly. Like I didn't assemble it totally right. And I just accepted, okay, this is just how my coffee table's going to be. But now I'm in a position where I would like to possibly sell this coffee table, but am I able to sell it when it's incorrectly assembled? That's the question. And this is something I should have acknowledged when I put it together, and I put it together wrong. Emily, you're going to want to sell this one day. You're going to want to get rid of this one day, and it's not correctly assembled. So maybe I just sell it for like really cheap. Also, I don't know how I'm going to get it out of my house. Let's just say August family dinner, I'll recap what goes on here because this is about to be this is about to be something. But yesterday I spent some time, I organized my utilities closet on Saturday actually. Yesterday I did cleaning. I went through mail that I needed to go through. Just kind of sorted. I organized, I cleaned up. The dog hair lately, Tally is just shedding like a maniac. So I'm trying to keep up with that, but I just feel good. I feel like I've, kind of made some progress. I framed this picture that I wanted to frame for a while, and I just couldn't find the right frame. So I did that. I hung a picture, like I said before, of my childhood home. My mom got these drawings of my childhood home for my siblings and I. I think it was Christmas of like 2015. Like it was years ago. And she got it. It was a drawing of the house, and then my stepdad, who builds kitchens. He's an engineer and he builds kitchens. He built us frames, and I forget what it is. I think it was like from the wood of maybe like one of the sheds that we had at the house. I forget. It was it was wood from something significant on the property. Now, it weighed so much. It weighed so much. So I wasn't able, and the frame itself kind of came apart, but I was able to reframe the picture. I still have the wood from the frame, and maybe in the future when I have a home and I can actually mount the picture properly, I'll mount it with that frame. But for now, it's just hanging on my wall. But I'm just so proud of myself for that because I just feel like I am someone, and we're already 10 minutes into this episode, so forgive me on this, but for continuing here, I am someone who does not want to use a hammer and a nail, like command hooks all day long, but I have to grow up and I have to use a hammer and a nail, but I don't want to because I'm afraid if I don't like it. I don't know, I'm just afraid. It just feels like that feels like too much of a commitment to me. Okay, hammer and a nail. Hammer and a nail. But all of the visuals that ChatGPT has provided me for like my family room and like other areas requires a hammer and a nail. So, we're gonna take baby steps in this home improvement, but I already feel so much better, and I've made such like small shifts, but I'm really looking forward to the next couple months just being like this being a project. I am going to try to do some I was going to actually try to go yesterday to Habitat for Humanity and just do more like thrifting. That obviously takes time, but that's fun to me, and I feel like that helps me feel like I am getting something that's different than just buying on Amazon or buying on, or buying at Marshall's where you can get caught in that that loop of just like going with what you find in those areas, but they all kind of, there's no character to them. They're all kind of just like, your standard lamp, your standard this, your standard that. So that's what I'm going to plan to do over the next few weeks. And I know I've said this before, but I mean it now, especially because I feel like I'm on a good rhythm with it. So stay tuned for updates on that. And then in upcoming video episodes, I someone actually asked me, which is like so funny. Somebody was like, one of the girls from the studio was like, "Can you do a home tour?" Kind of joking, but also kind of serious. And I'm like, you know what? No, I've never actually shown like my whole space to anyone. And I don't mind doing that. It's just not complete. And so I want to work on it first and then I will happily do that. So home tour to come. Just don't know when, but bear with me here. We're making moves. So in other news, I have been working, of course, on lots of new client consults that came to me through TikTok. I had a couple videos gain traction, and that led to lots of new consults, which was great. So June literally flew by so fast. Not to mention, I had Yap and Walk all of June, which I'm going to talk about. I had a wedding I bartended the last weekend of June. Father's Day. I mean there's just so much happening in June and it was great. It was just I it flew by and I think I predicted that it would just based on what I knew my calendar looked like. So that was all good and that was, that was everything just because I'm super proud of what I've been able to build and also there has been just such tremendous interest in labs and whatnot. So that's been that's been so much fun and obviously challenging and just a new territory for me, navigating the ins and outs of structure and programs and all that. So that was the majority of June was just focusing on, okay, what do I have today? What do I have tomorrow? And just kind of chunking things out. I also had quite a few new clients move into their protocols. So every week I had not only functional blood work clients but also functional lab clients. So lots of 90-minute calls and lots of analysis and putting together blood work and like ordering blood work and just so many things. June was crazy. I can't believe that we're already into July. It's wild. So business is great. I mean, it has, I think like I've shared in past episodes and what I've said, it's about finding the groove. And I think something else that I'm working on, which, I'm constantly a work in progress, as we all are, but especially when it comes to business and what I've shared with you all before about kind of my relationship with my business and whatnot, is just being where I am and being okay with that. I think the past so many years since I started my business, it has been a constant hustle. It has just been hustle, 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 constant hustle. And I'm never going to not be that way. That's just the way I am, right? I just, especially yesterday I got into this space of like, oh my God, I'm going to do all these crazy things. And I, I just, I just went for it. I really just didn't, just spent the rest of my Sunday afternoon just, focused on all of these ideas that I had. And I have no complaints about that. I am grateful for the type of person I am, because if I wasn't this type of person, I wouldn't be where I am. But I think we're constantly, actually, it's so interesting too. I just started this book called, I think it's called The Gap and the Gain, maybe, or something like that. And basically what they talk about in the book is, if we constantly operate in the gap, right? Like where I'm not, or where I'm this far, I'll be happy when type of energy, right? Where it's like, oh, like this is great, this achievement is great, but what's next? That is me to a T, right? Like, okay, well, I'll be I'll have made it when, or if I can just get to this, then I'll be successful. Then I'll be where I, you know, can, I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like that's kind of the energy versus being in the gain, where it's like I acknowledge and I'm grateful for all that I've accomplished. And being there is so much more fulfilling and so much more satisfying than constantly wanting what's next or constantly wanting more. And I feel like that's something that I have to work on, because I am at a place now, and I've said this before, that I can, and I always could be, I could have always been this way, but I feel like I'm just acknowledging it, being okay with where I am and knowing that like this, it's okay to just be right here. It doesn't have to be like, well, what's next, or what am I doing to build, or what am I doing to grow, and what am I doing to expand? It's like, no, but like being right here is okay, and it's good, and we're in a good spot, and that's okay. Like you don't have to always want to be into what's next, So like I said, I think I will always have a little bit of that. That will always be the way I operate, because I think that's just how you have to be when it comes to owning a business and growing a business, and just being successful and pivoting and evolving and whatnot, not becoming like complacent, but also knowing that my business is functioning and it's doing well and it's doing good, and I can be okay with it here, and that can be that. And I think that is just really what it's about, is like I created this business for, first and foremost, for helping, right? Because I'm passionate about helping, and I'm passionate about this work, and I love this work, and this is, my heart and soul and my mission. But also, being in business for yourself allows you freedoms and flexibility that maybe working for someone doesn't. And are you actually able to enjoy those if you're constantly kind of like a slave to your business? And that's, I don't consider myself a slave to my business, but I certainly don't, I don't necessarily allow myself the disconnect as much as I should and as much as I can. And now that things are in a good spot, I feel like I owe that to myself. So I think it's like a combination of things, right? Acknowledging when I'm operating in that gap versus the gain, and then also just allowing myself the space to disconnect. This weekend was a great example of that. I worked half day on Friday, but then I just laid by the pool on Friday afternoon, and that was great. It's like I read my book. I, obviously was in touch with clients over the portal if need be, but it's like giving myself that freedom. And I think that that is something I want to, in the latter half of 2026, be a lot more aware of, and a lot more, you know, I don't know, what's the word, like flexible with, and like I think too, it's not about slacking on my responsibility as a practitioner. That's obviously not the case at all. I will always be 100% in that way. And if I notice that that is happening, then I will call myself out for it. But it's finding the balance, right? Finding that balance and being able to lean into it. So I am co-hosting a Pilates event in a couple weeks, less than 2 weeks away, and I am so excited for it. What had happened, and I don't even know if I mentioned this on the podcast, maybe on the last family dinner episode, I'm not totally sure. But what had happened was I was approached by my esthetician, who also has started coming to the studio. I am friendly with her sister. And she said to me, hey, so and so at this salon wants to put together an event. Would you be open to teaching a class? And I have just been wanting to do this. This has just been something that's been on my mind. I mentioned on the podcast a couple weeks ago, I've wanted to do like bachelorettes or, teach classes to like bridal parties on the day of the wedding, or, just have something on the side, if you will, when it comes to fitness that's different than what I'm doing at the studio, whether that's something like I just mentioned or doing pop-ups different places. And I just personally just foresee fitness, especially as I move into my certification for personal training. I just foresee fitness being so much more a part of my work. And I like it because I think it complements my work well. It also, like I've said before, I'm really, 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 really big on what they call diversified income streams. So trying to build out my income in a way that doesn't rely fully on one-to-one work with clients, because this is for a number of reasons, but some of the bigger ones include there is a ceiling when it comes to one-to-one work, right? I can only see so many clients per week, and then that taps me out. And unless I continue to raise my rates, or unless I move into more of like a group coaching structure, which maybe will happen in the future, you know I have to acknowledge that my one-to-one work is limited because I can only take on so much as far as like my bandwidth goes, and and quite literally as far as like how many hours there are in a week. I also learned the very hard way as a therapist that maxing yourself out is a recipe, or is a definitive path to burnout. Burnout is so real. And so that is something I also want to avoid. I feel like I'm my best health when I have a certain amount of clients per day and like I max myself out. So I know, like, okay, I can only see this many clients in one day, or I can only have this many 90-minute calls in one week. So it's really just about kind of tuning into my ability as a practitioner and knowing where the limits are, knowing where my boundaries are. And so I feel like doing these pop-up events combines a multitude of my passions, right? Teaching, which I love, I love that. I love getting to know people. I think I'm really great at building community, and so that's also something that I'm interested in doing. I love coffee and matcha, and all of these events are are going to have those things, right? So I'm just really excited. So when she approached me, I was like, yes, say no more. I'm in. So what I've been doing over the past couple weeks is I've been putting together goodie bags. So I've been requesting product from brands for free samples, basically, to put into these goodie bags. I bought bands, resistance bands for all the attendees to have to take home to use during the workout, but then also to take home. So there's a lot of things happening. We're gonna have iced coffee, and I'm working on maybe getting a content creator to join. I had asked one of my girlfriends, but I don't think she's gonna end up being able to join. So I'm looking into finding someone to come to do that. I'm looking for this is so specific, but I'm looking for a mic, and I'm on Amazon looking at different like headsets because I'm definitely going to need something to amplify my voice because we're doing this outside. So we have 35 attendees. It's now sold out, and I'm just so excited. This is going to be like a lot of the blueprint, if you will, to future events. I just sent out a email to all of my Yap and Walk attendees. Now I have over 600 emails from all of these Yap and Walkers, and I am just really excited. I have to go check the Google form. I sent out an email last night being like, hey, I'm really interested in doing more of these, but doing Yap and Walks, but also these Yap and Sculpts, which is just kind of what I called it for now. What are your thoughts? Please give me feedback. And so that is kind of the in the works. I don't know how this is going to happen, but I have just gotten to the headspace of I'll figure it out, and that usually is what happens is I just figure it out. I am not sure, what the legalities of this include. I there's this girl that I really like on social media, and she's a bar instructor. So bar is very similar to Pilates and Sculpt and whatnot. It's just its own category of fitness. And she hosts these events, and has a much bigger following. She's done events. She's got a lot of experience in it. And I really wish I could just DM her and be like, hey, can you just give me like the full lowdown on how you do this and how insurance works and, how all the permits work and whatnot? Cause I'm just so curious. But I'm going to start obviously being a little bit more conservative with things and learn you know, how to put it together. And then I'm guessing once I get a few under my belt, I'll have a little bit more confidence and I'll be warmed up a bit and I can start to kind of expand a bit more. So that is what I'm so excited for. I think that's going to be so much fun. I have been so impressed by the feedback that I've had for Yap and Walk, which I'll talk about after I conclude my rant here. But it's just so much fun and I really, the biggest barrier, if you will, is just finding a co-host, because ultimately that's what, unless I find like a venue where it's like I'm just renting out a venue, I'd like to do more of like a co-host situation. So it's just finding different studios or locations that I can connect with so that we can host it together and then I, can put together all the things on my end and I'm looking at like getting the mic as the investment for future events and just kind of getting my feet wet in this process because I'd like for it to not be such a cumbersome project. I know that inevitably that's just how it's going to be, but I want to kind of get a I don't know, like a blueprint, like I said, where it's like, okay, like this is my checklist for each of these events so that I'm like able to do it a little bit like more streamlined, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I know with each event I need this, or, in this county I need to be sure I have this, and just have everything laid out so I can do multiple events a year and not feel like it's like such a heavy burden for me to make happen. I'd like it to be a little bit more, once I kind of get a groove with it, hopefully it becomes a little bit easier for me. So that is on the agenda. We'll see what happens. You heard it here first. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I think this is going to be a really great kind of trial run, if you will, to kind of get a feel for it, get feedback from the attendees, see what works, what doesn't work, what do I need to modify, what do I need to adjust, and then kind of using that information moving forward. So, speaking of Yap and Walk, holy cow, Yap and Walk has come and gone. I hosted, I want to say like 8 Yap and Walks. Was it 8? 6 of which, or wait, 5 of which, 6 of which were not in my area. So that's pretty cool. I traveled to many different counties over the course of June, and Union County was my biggest turnout. I think I had about 70 to 80 women in Union County, which was insanity. Insanity. I got there and I was worried about the parking. I was worried about all of these things. And I was like, you know what? It's just going to work out. It's going to work out. And I met with one woman and we were standing there, and the group just, I mean, it was a beautiful morning. Such a beautiful morning, and the group just multiplied. I swear, people just kept coming and women just kept walking up and kept joining the group. The circle that we were in just kept expanding, and it was great. It was so great. And then we went to a cafe afterwards, and that was packed. I was shocked. I got there. I was like, oh, I can't imagine it's going to be that many people. The line was out the door. We had a signature drink. I had so many women come up to me and be like, thank you so much. This was so much fun. That day, I drove home in silence because I just was so like, what even just happened here? Like, genuinely, what happened? Like, I just could not believe the turnout. And I was able to kind of integrate myself. I wasn't able to talk to every single woman, but I talked to a ton of women. And I was able to kind of make my way through the crowd and chat with a lot of women, and they were so appreciative and they were giving me such great feedback on all the things, and they were so excited about it, and it was great. And to this day I'm getting comments from people, when's the next Union County one? When's the next Union? I'm getting so much feedback. So Yap and Walk was great. I am so excited to see how this evolves. Now, like I said, I will continue to do Yap and Walk because I know that there's definitely a desire for that. But I think realistically speaking, especially moving into the colder months, like I have to pivot. So I'm just interested to see like, okay, if I develop this brand, I'm thinking more like, okay, let's think about this not from like a, oh, this is fun, let's just put it together type of way, but like in like a true strategizing. type of way, if I cultivate this brand of Yap and Sculpt, Yap and Walk, whatever, whatever I decide it will be coined or termed, what does this look like? What does this look like in the next year? What does this look like long term? What is the goal of it? I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of potential there, especially just given the fact that there's been so much interest and so much feedback for it. So, anyways, I sent out kind of a feeler, if you will, around that concept of doing a sculpt event. I have to go into the Google Doc and see how many people responded to my form. As of last night, there was 10 people who had responded, but I sent out to like probably in total 580 emails, something crazy like that. So I'm going to go check that and see what the feedback was, but that is something I'm working on. Like I said, it's kind of a pivot, but it's still all in alignment of my own work. And like I said, I think right now Yap and Walk is entirely free. The Sculpt event was a charged event, and that actually worked out really well. And a lot of what I'm making from that, I'm just putting back into the investment of the event itself. But that's what you have to do, right? That's investment. That's how you grow. So that is all exciting, and you know kind of the potential is there. I just have to figure out logistically. I did run into a little bit of a snag, we'll call it. Somerset County confronted me after my walk in Bridgewater, and basically was like, you can't do this without a permit. This is not allowed. And I just politely said, thank you for bringing this to my attention, and then I just went on my way. So definitely want to. I had already had, which is like, the walk itself was on a Sunday, and then I had another walk planned for later that week in Middlesex, which is like a neighboring county. And I'm like, oh my God, watch, I have like a target on my back now. And I show up to this walk in Middlesex County, and they're like, there she is, go get her, arrest her. Anyways, obviously that's not going to happen, but I kind of just let it go for that week, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go. We're just going to walk. Nothing happened. Everything was fine. But for the future, especially as Yap and Walk becomes more established, obviously I have to take a little bit more consideration into the legalities of things. The park ranger had said, like, you are in a gray area just because, like, you're getting these RSVPs, but only a fraction of the people are actually showing up. Some people I told were like, that's ridiculous. Like, I can't believe that they're doing that, especially because, like, I'm not asking the park to shut down. I'm not doing anything that's necessarily, event like. I'm simply just saying, hey, meet at this location at this time and let's go walk. So it is kind of a gray area. It's a little bit blurry as far as like what is what is actually necessary, I guess, but I don't want to get in trouble with the law. Okay, last thing I need is going to jail because I'm yapping and walking. So listen, I gotta follow the rules, and I will follow the rules. I just have to figure out what rules I actually need to follow based on what it is I'm doing. And obviously, as Yap and Sculpt becomes a thing, that's going to be a lot more as far as like liability, and I'm getting insurance on myself as an instructor, right? Like there's like a lot of things that come along with that, because that's going to be a little bit more intense. Intense, is that the word? Involved. That's a little bit more involved, but for right now, the Yap and Walks, I just feel like they're so innocent. Like, really, you're gonna rain on my parade like this? And the guy even said to me too, he had seen the video on TikTok and he escalated it to the woman who does the permits in that area. And I asked him, I said, did you know about this? Like, this was before I knew he had seen the video. And he's like, oh no, like, I've known about this for weeks. I'm like, well, buddy, I forget what his name was. Well, buddy, you could have called me. You could have called me and I would have followed the rules. So listen, this is on you. You could have let me know. It's not like you just found out about this today. You could have called me a couple weeks ago and said, hey, listen up. You need to do this, So you live and you learn. Not going to let them get me down. Yap and Walk will prevail. I just need to maybe do a little bit more homework first. So, kind of segueing off of that, I decided, I guess let me back up. So, I have always obviously, worked in the restaurant, and or as a therapist, but I'll just say mostly the restaurant. So, working at the restaurant and having to go into the restaurant never really made me a fully remote worker. Now, to this day, I'm not remote. entirely because I teach Pilates classes, but because I've taken a step back from the restaurant, I am now, I would consider myself full time remote aside from working part time at the studio, which obviously, that doesn't make me full time remote, but you understand what I'm saying. So I'm full time remote, but then part time at the studio. I've always wanted to kind of, you know, I don't know, work elsewhere, right? Like during the winter, especially, and this is probably what I'll do come the winter because my dad, he usually spends a lot of time in Florida during the winter. And so I'm thinking, I mean, I have to consider my fur child and what my plan would be for her. It's a shame because Lou, my golden who passed away 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Yeah, I guess was it 2 years ago or last year? Last year. She was so easy. And if I said to my mom, "Hey mom, I'm going to Florida for 2 weeks," she would take her and it would be no problem. And my mom actually just broke her kneecap, okay? So my mom's in a bit of a situation. She's been dealing with that. She had surgery, she's on recovery, but she can't do much. So right now would not be the time for me to be like, "Oh, hey, also by the way, can you take my fur child?" But if all circumstances were the same, she would be happy to take Lou because Lou fit in just like the rest of my mom has two Goldens. They're all related to each other. Lou did well. Tally, on the other hand, she's a little bit of a handful. A little bit, I mean, a lot of it. She's a lot of a handful. So she's not as easy, if you will, when it comes to just being like, "Hey, do you mind taking her?" I'm hopeful as my Tally girl grows and gets a little bit bigger, and maybe as we move into talking about getting her fixed and whatnot, I'm hopeful that she kind of turns over a new leaf, we'll call it. But I have always wanted to go and just relocate and work somewhere. Now, I would want Tally with me if I went for an extended period of time, right? Like I wouldn't want to just go and be like, "Yeah, mom, here, take Tally for a month." Like that would be far too long. I would miss my Tally girl. She would definitely have to come with me. But anyways, I've wanted to do that because now that I work remotely, it is easy to do that, right? So long as I have the opportunity. Now I'm perfectly fine being at home, but it's also fun to, kind of go elsewhere. So I decided, and I just said, YOLO, you only live once, to book a beach house in September for 2 weeks down the shore. And I'm so excited. I am really excited for this. I had always wanted to do it like during the summer, but of course the cost of the Jersey Shore during the summer is just astronomical and you have to get on top of it. I mean, if anything, I could do that. I could book for next summer now so that it's ready to rock for next summer, but September down the shore is the best because at that point, for those of you who are not in the New Jersey area and you don't know the culture and the vibe, the school year starts. So everyone is back home, right? There's no real vacationers. Everyone's back home. It's really just like locals. It's like a local summer, if you will. The water is so warm because by the time it hits September, the water has warmed up a bit. The days are still hot and warm, and the beach is still pleasant. It's obviously a little cooler at night, cooler in the morning, but it's a lovely, lovely time down the shore. So I kind of contemplated it, hesitated, looked at Airbnbs, kind of went back and forth. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be, I feel like I'm still like mentally justifying, well, I'm gonna be working down there. It's fine. It's like, no, Emily, you deserve a vacation. Okay. So relax. Even if you weren't working, it would be fine. You'd be fine. But I am gonna be working down there. I'm gonna adjust my Pilates schedule just so that I'm not taking off. I mean, I'm gonna be taking off the majority of those 2 weeks, obviously, but trying to kind of pivot a bit so that I can still teach. Even if I come home for a night and I teach, and whatnot, I'll figure it out. But that is what I'm doing. So, kind of pivoting and segueing off of Yap and Walk, Yap and Sculpt, I am looking to connect with a business down the shore to do an event on one of those weekends. So, I'll be there for 2 weeks, so I'll cross over um a weekend. So, I'm thinking to do one of those days over the weekend, and whether it's like a Yap and Walk one morning or and then a Yap and Sculpt the next morning, this is my listen guys, this is my problem. No, I couldn't just say, "I'm just gonna go down the shore and relax for 2 weeks." No, I said, "No, I'm gonna go down the shore and I'm gonna do all these things and plan all these events and do all these things." Like, can I just go down the shore and relax? No. So I'm thinking a Yap and Walk and or a Yap and Sculpt. Definitely want to do a Yap and Sculpt. So whether it's Saturday morning or Sunday morning of that weekend that I'm down there, that will or yeah, because I'll teach one, doesn't matter. But I'm gonna be down there and that's my plan. So I'm looking forward to it. I feel like it's something to kind of keep, like, I know the summer is obviously going to go by and whatnot because it's just been flying by as it is. And once July 4th hits, I think we can all agree it just kind of barrels through the rest of the summer. But I'm looking forward to having that on the horizon and connecting with studios or businesses down there. There's a lot of interest. I posted on TikTok because obviously TikTok is the way to go. And I've gotten so much feedback from people about studios and different businesses and whatnot, maybe some vendors that can attend. So I am excited for that. That I think is going to obviously have to take a little bit more planning. So that's why I'm getting ahead of it now because it's only 2 months out and it's going to be here, it's going to be here before I know it. So that is what I'm doing in September, and Tally's coming and I'm so excited. And it's a beautiful home and it's about a block from the beach and I'm just looking forward to it. So that is on my agenda for September. Going to spend some time half the month down the Jersey Shore, which is going to be so much fun, and I'm looking forward to that. So other than that, I am just really letting go. I am letting go on all fronts. And I guess letting go is probably not the right term, but let's call it I'm buckling up. No, I am hunkering down. No. I don't know what I'm doing. Actually, that's not true. I am just really going for it. Okay. This is the time in my life that I need to do it. I am going for my work. I'm going for my certification as a personal trainer. I'm sharpening my skill set as a practitioner. I just started meeting with one of my girlfriends who she started her business around the same time as I. She actually lives out in Nebraska. I always forget if it's Nebraska or Kansas. She lives in Nebraska. And she and I joined a mastermind together back in October of 2022. And that was not a good experience, but she and I kind of stayed in touch. And now so going on 4 years now, we've just been in each other's orbit around business development and we both do testing. So she and I are meeting on a regular basis as kind of like a power hour to go over different concepts. Like, I am just so, I don't know. Yesterday I was feeling this, today I'm feeling this. Check in again because this ebbs and flows, you know what I mean? Like motivation and feeling, ready to rock. That is fleeting. It doesn't always stay constant. So sometimes you have to create it for yourself. But I'm just feeling really good in the world of content. I'm feeling really good in my space. I'm feeling really good in my work. There's just like a lot of good things happening, and I feel like I'm in a good groove with it. So I'm just excited for the next several weeks of the summer. My sister's coming at the end of this month. I'm really excited for that. She'll be up at my mom's. So my nieces are coming. I thought I wasn't going to be able to see them again until I saw them in, when did I go to Michigan? I saw her end of April. So I thought I wasn't going to be able to see them again until December, usually around Christmas time. And I don't even know if that's going to happen this year. So I'll be able to see them at my mom's. I'll be up there for a couple days. I'm planning on another event. I don't know. It hasn't come to fruition yet. So there's another possible pop-up event happening in August, beginning of August, with another studio that asked to have me, which is, you know, such a nice invitation. And then we'll be right into September. So it's kind of crazy, but I feel like I'm really in a very motivated spot right now. I feel like I'm really trying to grow, and this is so counter to what I said at the beginning of this episode. So forgive me on this, but more in the content world. And I've said this before on the podcast, especially at the beginning of the year, content and content creation is something that I'm really trying to expand on, not only for the sake of education, but also because, once again, it's another income stream. And there's been a lot of growth on TikTok. I'm close to 16,000 followers on TikTok. For those of you who are not familiar with the world of TikTok, I personally think is one of the most valuable investments you can make if you're a business owner. It is insane what kind of life-changing possibility can come along and life-changing power TikTok can have. So that is something that I'm really trying to hone in on and utilize, especially because I've already gotten so much growth from Yap and Walk, and I'm just harnessing that power and then also just trying to convert them to Instagram followers. And it's just, social media has to be a strategy. I am not that good at it. My sister is so good at it. She's like, we are constantly texting about strategy, and she's grown a ton. If you want some sourdough tips, go to @Lindsay Bakes Bread. She's a sourdough baker in Michigan. But I I envy her because she has so much more strategy, but I have just been so set in my ways because I've been doing this for so long that like my strategy is just like just post and that's it. And it's like, no, you should probably do a little little bit more than that, especially if you want to grow. So, I'm just really focused on that over the next couple weeks, like really putting my head down into content work and showcasing, my life, my habits, not necessarily, and I said this before, not for the sake of client acquisition, but for the sake of just something that I'm passionate about and I like to share about my life and I'm getting better at it. So that is definitely kind of formulating um and kind of building, in general. And book wise, okay, you guys, I know I said in last last family dinner episode that I would focus more on reading and I have. I'm almost done with two different books. I have recently, I'm trying to think, I've gotten a few new ones. What else is new? So we're actually making progress in that department. I know I am a broken record when it comes to that, but that is also something that I am doing a lot more of is spending time reading and setting aside time for it. Because ultimately, that's what helps me grow and that's what makes me a stronger and sharper practitioner. And that's always my goal. So let's talk about what I've been loving because you know that this is part of family dinner. I feel like I'm missing something from family dinner and I didn't write anything down. So I just was kind of just going off the top of my head, but I feel like I'm missing something and it's gonna really bother me if I don't if it doesn't come back to me or if I think about it after the fact. I think I may have mentioned I'm getting back or I stopped my gym membership. I did say that in my last family dinner, I'm pretty sure. I'm getting back into Peloton workouts. So that has been a lot of fun. I feel like I needed that time away to really appreciate it. And so I'm back in action with that and, finding my groove with it, especially from week to week with my teaching schedule and what that looks like. But what have I been loving? Well, I have been loving, let's think. What I've been eating this toast. I've been doing a sourdough toast with this chia jam, this brand called Smash Foods. They make this chia jam, which truthfully it's chia jam that I have made before, right? Like chia jam I think is like such an underrated hack. It's basically just mashed berries with chia seeds and chia seeds are mucilaginous. So that means they gel up. And so they're going to create this kind of gel-like consistency with whatever liquid they're immersed in. So in this case, you're making basically like a jam and add a little bit of lemon, maybe add a little bit of maple syrup or honey, and you have this jam. And I've made it at home, I make it a ton, but I was like, let me just try this brand. I probably won't buy it again just because it's like basically the same thing that I can make at home and it's much more cost effective to do it that way. But I have been having toast with that jam and cottage cheese on top with sometimes like a drizzle of raw honey, and that has been so good. Like, I'm gonna go have this right now. It is so good. Oh wait, I think yeah, I do have good cold. I've got a cheese. It's so good. So that is what I've been loving as far as pre-workout or just a snack goes. A little bit of fat, a little bit of protein, a little bit of carb. It's got a nice little balance to it. So that is something that I have absolutely been loving. So I guess this is not news, but I have just been loving walking. I mean, I don't know why, just especially this time of year, especially been loving walking. We were in 100 degrees this past week in New Jersey, and let me just say, like, I mean, I want to be sensitive to the fact that extreme heat can be really hard for especially those who are elderly or animals. I understand that, but I don't mind it one bit because of what we went through in January. And I know in January, I could go back and find the podcast. I am certain I probably said this multiple times that in January when it was cold and snowy and just a mess, when we got all that snow, we got the 0 degrees, all that, I remember thinking I will never take 100 degrees for granted ever again. And I stuck to it. Listen, I love when it's 80 degrees and it's 7 a.m. I really do. And that might not be everyone's cup of tea and it might be uncomfortable for some people and can be dangerous in some capacities, right? But I'll just say it, I love it. So I'm thriving in this weather. I think it's like I've been waiting for this because of because of what we went through in January. And I read somewhere that we lose 40 minutes of daylight over the course of July, which is just wild to me. 40 minutes. Now it's like not even sundown until 9 o'clock. And I just am so sad for that because what do you mean? And don't get me wrong, call me in a couple weeks. I will probably be ready for pumpkin spice and the fall because every year this is what happens. I am the person that's ready for school supplies in July. That was always me as a child. I also just love school, but always me. But um, I'm really loving the way that the weather is right now because of what we went through. So I've been walking a ton because during this time of year, walking is so much more accessible versus, I put my walking pad away and, it's going to be fully outside through the month of even down the shore. It'll be obviously outside, um but yeah, I love walking. It's been the best. So I've also been taking a majorly deep dive into the thyroid. And so that is something I'm also loving lately, just thyroid health and understanding thyroid health and supporting clients with thyroid health because I feel like it's just every single person is just dealing with some sort of thyroid dysfunction, some level of thyroid dysfunction. So that is something I've been working on, exploring more and applying myself to more. Obviously decorating and kind of furnishing more, making my home more of a home. That is something I'm also loving. I'm buying new activewear far too frequently, but listen, it's my uniform. I don't care. It's my uniform. I'm allowed. I'm allowed, okay? So leave me alone. I'm allowed. And yeah, like I said before, I just feel like I am in a good rhythm with things. I feel excited for what's ahead. I feel excited for what I'm kind of cultivating in business. And I love, and I've said this before, like I love the idea of like I can create what I want and I can do what I want in terms of like if I have an idea, I can pursue that idea because I can and I'm allowed because it's my work and I can do what I want, even if it's yap and sculpt, right? Even if it's nothing to do with labs, but it's cool to have that freedom. But I think it does require obviously a level of like tenacity, if you will, where it's like, okay, well, how am I gonna do this? I don't know. Well, I'm gonna figure it out. I don't know, but I'm gonna figure it out. And that's all I could do, right? Like you don't know how to do something, you figure out how to do it. So that concludes today's family dinner episode. Oh, my garden. Oh my God, I forgot to tell you about my garden. Was that what I was missing? All right, I won't keep you long. But my garden, she's doing well in her own way. I planted zucchini, cucumber. My dad planted a ton of tomato. I did eggplant, jalapeno, two other types of peppers, which I don't recall which ones I did, but I did. I did romaine. I did try to do strawberry, but those aren't doing so hot. And we are on the eve of I think a zucchini harvest. I won't lie. I think I need to go there tomorrow or Wednesday. It's Monday. I need to go there one of these days this week because after all the rain, we got a lot of rain last night, a lot of rain over the weekend. These zucchini are just going to explode, and there's so many of them, and I'm so excited. I'll never forget when I had my garden the first year. Lou and I went outside to check the garden. That was like our little morning routine together. I'd bring out my coffee, we'd go out to look at the garden, and the zucchini, I just lifted up a leaf and it was just this massive zucchini. And I'll never forget thinking, where did this come from? And for those of you who garden or have gardens, that happens. And I think it's like it is the wildest thing to me because all I want is to put like a time lapse on these plants because I want to see how fast they grow. Because if you're telling me it goes from 4 inches to like 10 inches overnight, I'm like, how? How is that possible? So I went on Saturday to check them. I had quite a few zucchini, probably at about maybe 4 inches long, give or take. So my dad is there, so I'll ask him to check on them and see what they look like. I'm hoping, they get to I gotta Google like what is the preferable harvest size to wait for them to get to a certain size. But truly, I think this is the summer of zucchini. I think that's probably what I'm gonna have the most success with. My cucumber, I thought I bought the cucumber plant that's not supposed to create vines because last time they created vines, they strangled all of my plants. And then this plant started growing vines, so I guess it was mislabeled or something because I now have a lot of vines for my cucumbers and it's a shame. So I've been able to harvest my romaine twice. If that's all I get from them, that's fine. I'm happy. I'm happy about it. Jalapenos are almost ready, and it's just so much fun to me. It's so fun, and my dad has so many tomatoes, so we're gonna have plenty of tomatoes to pull from in a couple weeks. But yeah, my garden is doing well given the circumstances, because I didn't put much thought into it aside from, let me just plant this in the ground and see what happens. So I'm learning as I go. I'm manifesting a large garden in the future. My dad actually has plenty of space in his yard where we really could do like a legit in-ground garden, but I don't think he'd let me do that. So we're gonna wait for the future to be able to make that move. But that's definitely the goal in the future, is to be able to have just like a garden where I can just live off of my garden. Like, how freaking cool is that? So anyways, that's my update with my garden. But anyways, I appreciate you. I thank you for joining me for another episode of Family Dinner. I just feel like we are just moving and grooving. The summer's going well, and it's just all of the things, and I'm glad I get to share them with all of you. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I thank you so much for listening. You know that you are always welcome back at the table for any and all episodes, but especially those that are family dinners. And until next time, be well.